this is sort of a summary of where we've been at a certain level. Um, Jesus' view of leadership, remember, is that whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Um, Probably the 2 or 3 people that have built the strongest organizations and movements that I know of uh, in history, in Christian history, have been what I call servant leaders. When you were with them, they were trying to help you find your role. They were trying to help the organization. They were trying to help that division understand. They were trying to help those people solve problems. They were trying to help define the future. It was like, even though they were leaders of movements that became 20, 30, 40,000 people, they had a servant's heart. Because to be a servant, it isn't just, I want to, when people ask me to do something or ask me for help or ask me for advice, I don't know what it is. No, it's not to be a weak, untrained, undisciplined, unfocused leader. It's to be a powerful servant. It's to be a strong person to be able to help. And in the process of turning your dreams into reality, one life will soon be past, only what's done for Christ will last. Remember to relax. You need to take some time in the desert occasionally, like Jesus did. You need to take some time away from the 5,000 people out in a boat. You need to take some time just to relax. You can't be driven 100% of your time. Now, you can, some people are more driven than others, but you basically have to be able to relax occasionally and to be able to stay self-focused without being self-centered. Self-focused is, who am I? How can I maximize who I am to help other people? Whereas self-centered is, how can other people help me? And as I've looked back on it, getting ready for today, as I look back on my own life, the lives of leaders that I've watched and tried to help support and develop, the 5 things that we share in common between you and me and they are that we all need to be able to get organized and stay organized. To get and stay organized. We need to get and stay focused. We need to get and stay oriented. We need to get and stay collected. We need to have a system for collecting things, that we don't see something that's really great and then lose it. And we need to stay motivated. We need to get motivated and keep motivated. We need to, whenever we're unmotivated, we need to find out what's unmotivating us and how do we get back to motivated and keep there. And to do that, the set of 10 tools that are practical and proven. These aren't theoretical tools that I've never used, that clients haven't used. They're proven tools that are life-focusing tools that help you focus for you and your team, to help you develop personally and to help your team develop personally and develop as a team. Don't ever lose track of, in your day away or your day of reevaluation, go right back to these tools, your North Star. Get oriented to God. Get oriented to your bucket list. What you're really trying to get done in life. Get oriented to your annual balance calendar to see if you're out of balance with your family and your ministry or your work. To focus your future, again, whether you're intensely focused for now or really looking for how do we make the big difference 20 years from now, how to keep that balance. But the tool of keeping those priority grids in place for you, for your team, for your organization, it works at all levels. And then make sure that you have your self-organizing systems. Make sure that you are personally organized. Make sure that you're not disorganized. Make sure that when you file something, you know where to get it. A friend of mine once said, you build a filing system. When you build it, you can spend time on either end of the system. I said, what do you mean? He said, you can have a filing system, paper filing system, where you just open a closet door and throw it in. It'll take you 1/10 of a second to file that paper. No time at all. Just click file, it's done. But he said then you'll spend time on the back end of it trying to find it. But if you spend a little more time on designing the filing system up front, it won't take you nearly as long to find it on the back end. But make sure that you've got your annual calendar, your yearly calendar, your filing system, your contact list. Make sure that those systems are up to date. Make your life milestones list. I don't review that every day, but I know exactly where it is. And whenever I tend to get discouraged, when I get discouraged, I often just go to Cheryl. We talk. But if Cheryl isn't around and I'm discouraged and there's no one else around, I go back to my life milestones sheet. And I look and say, you know, we've actually, even though it wasn't perfect, and again, I would urge you, don't even try to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Don't feel badly like you've failed if you're not a perfectionist. You're going to do the best you can. You're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes today. Everyone has made mistakes today. Everyone will make mistakes on every master class they ever teach. They may not be obvious to you, but they're obvious to us. They may be very obvious to you, but you're going to make mistakes. Don't forget that. But don't also forget how much you've actually accomplished. Don't forget that you've got a lot of milestones and a lot of lessons learned. Don't forget that, because you may have failed miserably at something. It may have been a tremendous mistake. It may have been a terrible mistake. But the reality is you learn from it. What did I learn from that mistake? And when you have a failure, consider seriously, it's okay. No. Consider seriously journaling. What did I learn from this mistake? What did I learn from it? And put it in your journal so that you've documented what you learned from that mistake. And then make a list of balcony people. You may only have one person. You may only have one person at a distance that you have to call who is an encourager to you. Or you may email someone. Or you may have 3 or 4 people on another continent that are your balcony people. But you want to have it so that whenever you get discouraged, whenever you get out of shape, you can, out of sorts, you can go back to your milestones. You can go back to your priorities grid. You can go back to your balance calendar. You can go back to your bucket list, your North Star. You now have a series of tools that you can go back to at any time. You can go back to these at any time. They're yours. They're in your computer. They're in your hand. And for the next 50 years, as long as you live, no matter what your situation, no matter how disoriented you feel, no matter how discouraged you feel, no matter what someone says to you, no matter how big a team you're leading, no matter how many dollars it includes, you can always take 10 minutes, take an hour, and go right back to your North Star. Are we still headed in the right direction? Go back to your bucket list. Are we still got the right priorities? Go back to your annual balance calendar. Have we got balance between our professional life and our personal life and priorities? Go right back to your priorities grid to say, okay, here is what we need to get done quarterly, yearly, etc. Go right back to your self-organizing systems. Go right back to your life milestones. Go back to your the fact that you've got goals, problems, and opportunities to understand yourself. Go back to your visual perspective chart, your emotional balance chart. And then a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you're coming on pretty soon, 3 years from now, you're feeling again discouraged, sort of blue, out of it, disorganized, disoriented. Go right back to your North Star, your bucket list, your annual balance calendar, your priorities. Just go right back to this list over and over and over again. So that no matter how disoriented you get, you've got a place to come back and reorient yourself. You can keep a journal on what you're experiencing here. You can keep your bucket list on a piece of paper. You can keep it on your computer. But these 10 things you can come back to over and over and over for the rest of your life to help you keep oriented, to keep the big picture on who am I, where am I, how's all this thing fit together, to keep focused on what are my priorities for the next 90 days, year, 2 years. You got that tool in place. How to keep organized with those 4 systems, how to keep collected with the systems we've given you, how to keep motivated. And you can look at it yourself. You can look at it for your organization. You can just update it whenever you need to. And it doesn't take that long. Once you get these things written out on your computer or on paper, you can do it either way. Once they're written out and you've got your priorities grids filled out, don't ever forget that at any time you can go back through all of these things in probably less than an hour. They're in pencil, they're on your computer. You can change them, you can refine them, you can improve them. But for the next 50 years, you never have to be disoriented for very long. You got tools that can refocus you, that can reorient you, can in 5 minutes bring you back to, okay, the number one thing again is not how I'm feeling, but it's God. Who is God? Why am I here? What am I about? What's my dream? What's my life work? What can I see myself doing for the rest of my life? And what legacy do I want to leave? There's the big picture on where I am. And read what you've written, and in 5 minutes, you can have that all refocused in. It doesn't take long once it's done. Now, I would encourage you today, as soon as we're done here, as soon as we're possibly done, I would encourage you to schedule on your calendar an hour where you say, okay, I've got an hour set aside. I'm going to fill all this stuff in. Put it on your calendar so that you don't keep putting it off, and a year, or a week from now, months from now, you've forgotten sort of what we said. Now, one of the other things you can do is you can have a list of these 10 things here, the 10 tools. And as you're listening to a person, let's say you're counseling a person, and you're listening to them, you're listening to their situation, you're listening to their heartaches, you're listening to whatever. You could go through this very quickly with your finger and say, you know what, that person's missing is a North Star. They don't know what their North Star is. Or I think their North Star is pretty clear. And you could ask them, you know, what is your purpose or whatever? And then, well, who are you trying to be? What are you trying to do? What would you like to have? Who do you want to help? And they have no idea. You can say, okay, I've got them right to there. Check. They're done with that. We've got that covered. Then you could also take this same material and have your staff. In a few days, you're already watching it. In a few days, Jamie will make available that the tapes are available. It's not just live streaming like you're doing now, but the tapes will be available. You can take those tapes, 3 hours worth of tapes, and require each of your team members to watch what we've been watching. What that does is give you a very common language. When you say, get out your bucket list, or, let's update our bucket lists, everyone knows instantly what you mean by a bucket list. By going through these 3 hours, we develop a team common language. You not only strengthen them as leaders, but you develop a common language for your team. Like I said earlier, nothing is meaningful without a context. What we've covered in the last 3 hours is the context of your life. You're living life in the context of a North Star, a bucket list, an annual planning, annual balance calendar, a priorities grid. These are things that are forming the context of your responsibilities, of your life, of what's important to you. They're forming the context of your life, which gives additional meaning to your life. What gives your life meaning is the things that go on these sheets. What gives meaning to your life is God and purpose and dream and life work and legacy. Your what means something to you is the priorities you set on the bucket list. What means something to you is what you're protecting on your annual balance calendar, what you're setting time aside for. That's what means something to you. Is we've set aside time to have a family vacation right here. So it helps you know the context that gives your entire life and everything in it meaning. Another thing is that as much as I've been fascinated by this 5-point structure and these 10 tools, which to me brings into a whole things I've been wrestling with for a lot of years in terms of, okay, these are the 5 things you have to get good at. And here are the 10 tools that help you do that. As simple and as clear as they are to me at this point, at this stage of my life, don't expect that you're on top of all of it right now. It's like, this is not a 2-minute thing to get on top of. So give yourself some time. Give yourself, start on it tomorrow or today if you can, this afternoon if you can. But tell yourself, by my next birthday, which is a month or 2 or 3, how can I have these things all draft 1 done? Draft 1 on my North Star, my bucket list, my annual balance calendar, the priorities grid. How can I have a draft 1 of all this done and give yourself a time date, like in 13 days on the 1st of the month or on the 3rd of the month or on the first Monday of the month, I want to have all these things done. Give yourself a timeline to get draft 1 done. And then give yourself a year to keep doing them. Keep refocusing for a year using what you did on that draft 1. Just keep refining it. And what you're going to find is the more you do it, the smoother it becomes, the clearer it becomes, the more confident you become in it. Remember, confidence is a byproduct of predictability. Knowing that for the rest of your life, to focus your life, to refocus your life, to just turn dreams into reality, those are 5 systems. And the better you get at those 5 systems over the rest of in the next few days, give you more confidence for the rest of your life because it's more predictable. Those 5 elements are what I really need to know. And it's more predictable. Those 10 tools are what I really need to master. So as a leader, it gives you far more confidence looking at the future to know these are the 5 systems and these are the 10 tools. If I can get on top of those, I've got high percentage of leadership. We've come a long way, a long, long way. I think these are the keys to help you grow into your full potential as a godly servant, powerful servant leader.